Hey YouTube, Silence Death here with Airsoft Team OSMD, and today I wanted to talk about some of the roles that you can have when playing Airsoft. There's 4 basic ones, and there's lots of subdivisions of these. This is just the main, based on what weapon you have and what equipment you're carrying, what you should be doing for your team to be the most effective you can be. The first one is the main one that most people are, which is just a generic rifleman. If you have an M4, an AK, MP5, G36, anything like that, any starter gun, most of the JGs, G&Gs, CYMAs, any of those that you get, you're going to want to be a rifleman. Basically, they are the main fighting unit. In a game, they get most of the work done. Just because they're the backbone of your team. If you're classified as a rifleman, you're probably going to have an AEG or a gas blowback. Probably an AEG. I don't come across many gas blowbacks, but they are out there. But most of them are just entry-level AEGs. And most of them are using .20 or .25 gram BBs. They're cheap and they're pretty accurate. One big piece of equipment that I think riflemen should have is grenades, because they're the people that are attacking. A lot of times in urban combat, you need a grenade, and no one on your team really has a grenade because they're pretty rare. I feel the rifleman is the person that should carry the grenade. Or even have a compartment on the back of their kit that can hold a grenade, so if they go up against a building, someone behind them can grab a grenade and throw it in. I think that would be the best setup. The other vital piece of equipment is a radio. The rifleman needs a radio, and I'll get to that in a second. The effective range for a rifleman is typically between 150 and 180 feet. That normally comes about because they're using basically standard AEGs, like your JGs, Echo 1, G&G, any of the KWAs, Sportline models, ICS Sportlines, any of those are typically going to get a max range of about 150 feet. Now that's effective range. The rounds will go farther. They would probably go out to 200 feet before they drop off, but their groups are going to be huge at that distance. So you're going to have to be firing 8 to 10 round bursts past 180 feet to actually hit a person, which isn't very effective. That's why it's labeled effective range. A lot of people don't know the difference between effective range and max range, which 150 to 180 feet is pretty good. Some guns can't even hit 150. So that's the range you should be hitting if you're a rifleman. And last is responsibilities. If you're a rifleman, you're the guy that's going to be on the front lines attacking or defending objectives. They're the guys that walk up front. They're the guys that get kills, and they're the guys that get killed. It goes both ways. They walk into a trap. They're the guys that get hit, or they're the guys that see someone and shoot them. A lot of times they get most of the kills, but they get a lot more action in a day. And the other huge responsibility is communication, because these are the guys that are out who are getting the objectives done. They're the people that see what's going on the battlefield. They need to have a radio, like I said before, in order to effectively tell everybody else what's going on. So that's with the rifleman. I'm going to move on to the next one now. The next class is a support gunner. You don't see these very often. That's why they're the secondary fighting unit, because they're not as common. They're to support the riflemen. I've only seen maybe 1 or 2 at my local field, and pretty rare. For the equipment they use, they almost always use an AEG, and it's got to be a reliable AEG that can be fired for a long period of time without having a problem. So a lot of times they're M249s, M240s, RPKs, just any kind of squad automatic weapon that's going to have a pretty high rate of fire and that's going to be pretty reliable. They tend to use .20 gram BBs because they use a lot of them, and it tends to be expensive if they get any higher gram BB. Next important thing is they have to have the ability to put out a lot of rounds without reloading. So it has to be in the form of some type of box magazine, because most like M249s can use M4 mags, but it's not very effective for them to be reloading like that. So they will tend to carry maybe a 2,500 round box mag. I have even seen 5,000 round box mags. That's really important. And the last thing they should have is a radio. That way they can, because a lot of times support gunners will be defending a position. If they don't have a radio, they don't really know what's going on. It gets boring for them. The effective range of a support gunner is typically 150 to 200 feet. Rarely will they get 200 feet though. Normally these guns aren't tuned perfectly. Most guys just buy like a 249 and go out to the field because they have all the ammo. So a lot of times they'll shoot at people that are farther, but they have so much ammo that volume of fire allows them to hit them. But they are still have a decent effective range, but it's because of volume of fire, not because of how accurate they are. So if you're a support gunner and you're only hitting at 150 feet, then there's probably something more you can do to hit a little bit further, just because you're shooting so many rounds. The responsibilities for a support gunner is obviously to suppress the enemy. A lot of times support gunners will accompany riflemans when they're attacking an objective, and they will fire at the enemy once they make contact so the rifleman can flank, because the support gunner keeps the enemy's head pinned down. Another objective is to defend key objectives. This is what I think is most important, especially for like conquest games where you have to take an objective and defend an objective. Support gunners can really win the game for their team because they will defend an objective and there's nothing the enemy can really do to flank them in some cases. And the last thing is they need to carry extra ammo for other guys. For long military simulation games, they need to have extra ammo so they can resupply other people. The next class is a sniper class. This is what most guys actually start out with, but then they decide to be a rifleman instead, because this is a very hard class to be. I was at one point in this class, and it's very hard. I liked it, and that's why I went to the next class that we're going to get to. But if you really enjoy this, being a sniper, a true sniper, is very demanding physically and mentally. A sniper is obviously a long-range expert, and that's where his responsibilities come in, that I'll get to later. His equipment is almost always a bolt-action sniper rifle. Can be gas or spring-powered. I would prefer spring-powered because it's more consistent and it works in all climates. He's going to want some type of camouflage or ghillie suit that is going to keep him concealed, because he needs to be concealed to fulfill his responsibilities. And in order to do that, he needs a radio as well. It's more important that the sniper have a radio than, say, the support gunner, because the sniper is going to be observing a lot of times behind enemy lines. So it is important that the sniper communicates with the rifleman, so they can get both their jobs done and achieve the goal for whatever the objective may be. The effective range of a bolt-action sniper is typically 250 to 300 feet. Very rarely do you see 300-foot shots without an R-hop and a lot of modification done to the bolt-action sniper to hit that. We like to think that snipers can shoot that far, but it is very difficult to hit someone that far. It is more common to see shots at 250 feet. and a lot of times closer than that. Most shots are actually a lot closer than that, because the sniper will wait until the person is easily within range. But they will have a longer range than anyone else, any other type of weapon, because the sniper rifle does not vibrate like an AEG does or a gas gun. It will be a lot more consistent. Consistency increases range because of just how ballistics work. You can hold over and shoot farther. The responsibilities of the sniper go hand in hand with the equipment. Reconnaissance is the most important. A lot of times the sniper will go entire games without actually taking shots, but he's just relaying information about what's going on, especially in big milsim games where he may see multiple people in squads of like 4 to 6 people walking by, and he can't shoot, but he has to tell his riflemen where they are, and that's a very important thing for him to do, and he needs a radio to get that done. That's why radio is his most important piece of equipment, besides his ghillie suit, which is used for stealth. Stealth is so important with a sniper. If a sniper is found, he is a liability to his team, because when a sniper is spotted, he's not going to be able to take out his target. He's not going to be able to relay any information. That's why it's so important that he remains hidden, which is why he needs a good ghillie suit, and he needs to go on somewhere like AirsoftSniperForum.com to learn how to really be stealthy. And the last thing is his main objective is harassing fire or selective assassinations, and by that I mean the sniper is more of a mental attack on the enemy. He gets inside their head because they don't know where he is, and they tend to they act rashly and without reason. When they hear the tree they're hiding behind get hit by a random BB, they don't know what to do but run. So they just run out of cover and tend to get killed. So that's where harassing fire is very important. And selective assassinations, if the sniper knows someone on the enemy team that is a high value target, obviously they are the ones that are going to be able to kill him the easiest, because he doesn't know where they are. And that's why stealth is important to the sniper. The last class is a designated marksman. It's what I am. It's a mix of a rifleman and a sniper. His equipment is, he uses a DMR, or a designated marksman's rifle, which is a combination of an AEG and sort of a bolt action. It has the characteristics of both, but it is basically just an AEG with greater range and accuracy, and that's achieved by heavy internal upgrades that help power. Output has to be shooting about the same every time, and it has to have extensive hop-up modification to get the BBs to go out very far, very consistently. Designated marksmen should use very heavy rounds, .28s or higher. I use .4s just because I have an R-hop and I can, and the higher you use the better. They tend to be more expensive though, the higher you go. The DMR, the designated marksman's rifle, should at least put out 390 FPS with 2s, because if it goes any slower than that, it's not going to get to the target fast enough, and that can tend to be a liability. The effective range of a designated marksman is between 200 and 250 feet. Normally it's only around 200, sometimes less, because most guys say they're a designated marksman because they have an M16 with a bipod and a scope, or an SR-25, but they don't really have any upgrades that make their gun a DMR. They really just have a rifleman gun that looks like a DMR on the outside. But a gun that is really tuned, like say mine, can reach 250 feet consistently, which is what makes it so lethal. The responsibilities go hand in hand with the sniper, which is reconnaissance. He needs to have a radio. That's one piece of equipment I didn't put on there, but he needs a radio because he has the same responsibility as the sniper, which is get relay information, and also long-range support. Because he has that effective range, he should be able to reach out and touch someone, but he's not going to hide. He's going to shoot and move, more of an urban sniper per se. He's going to flank the opponent and shoot them. He's going to back off of their range and shoot them where they cannot hit him, and that's how he's the most dangerous, because it forces the enemy to move once they get flanked, because they can't stay where they are because they got no cover, and they can't shoot back because they're outranged. So designated marksman is very difficult to fight against because of the range. Basically, you have to charge them or flank them, but both of those take time, which is something that you don't really have when you're fighting them. So I am a designated marksman. We have several snipers on Airsoft Team OSMD. We have multiple riflemen. We're yet to have a support gunner, but our team is pretty well balanced, and hopefully this overview has shown you guys what the different roles are, and hopefully if you fall into one of these categories, you learn something about how you can help your team out. This has been Silent Death with Airsoft Team OSMD, guys, and have a good day.